Welcome to the next Wildflower series, episode 15, Making Miniature Orchids in the 4 scales, with paper, wire, thread, and artificial snow. There are many kinds of orchids. In this video, I am making the Phalaenopsis. They usually grow on tree barks in the wild. The height measures from 1/8 of an inch all the way up to 1 1/4 of an inch, and each plant took about an hour to make. See the description box below for materials and more details. Begin with a vase. Ideas for the base include beads like seed, pony, plastic, wood, ceramic, or glass. Or you could use plastic caps or even purchase a mini vase. The vase bottom may need to be leveled, and you can do that by sanding. For the larger scale vases, like the 1/24 and 1/12, you may need to put a filler inside the containers, like foam or paper, and then glue a paper top if needed. Next, glue a layer of used dry tea bits to the top of each vase, or something that looks like tree bark mulch, and press it down. To make the orchid spikes, use varying sizes of floral wire for the larger mini scales and thread for the smaller scale. Glue around the thread to give it strength. Then place one end of each wire and the thread in clamps. Make a curved top with tweezers. For the 1/24 and 1/12 scale spikes, add stem bits of wire, 6 to 7 pieces at the curved top, about 1/32 to 1/16 inch in length. Paint the spikes with a green color. Then seal with a matte finish. Let dry. The flowers are made with copy paper and punches for the larger scales. Use artificial snow painted white for the smaller scales. I also use snowflake and star punches for the inside of the flower pieces. For the leaves, I use green copy paper or floral tape. You could use a leaf punch, an ellipse template, or hand cut, 5 or so leaves per plant. I use floral tape for the 1/12 scale leaves by stretching 2 8-inch pieces of floral tape, glue in the center, and then placing a wire 8 inches in between, pressing together. Then trace out the leaf design and cut it out. You can paint the leaves a different color and seal with a matte finish. This step may be easier to do when the leaves are glued onto the vase. For the exposed air roots, you could use Spanish moss or embroidery floss bits. For the stake spike supports, I use thin broom straw for the larger orchids and thread for the smaller orchids. Then I took colored marks around to make it look like bamboo. I cut thread pieces and stiffened it with glue for the smaller scale stakes. Here I've set up the parts to assemble for each scale: the vase, the bark, leaves, roots, stake, and spikes with the flowers. For the tiny 1 1/44 scale, glue the spike to the top of the vase. Then glue the thread stake. Curl the leaves with a stylus and adjust and glue around the vase. Then glue the roots. Glue the top of the curved spike and then add bits of white artificial snow to the top. I used a permanent marker in light purple to dab tiny bits of color to the flowers. You could also use acrylic paints. You can adjust your flower shape into a cascade or use more or less flowers. For the 1/48 or quarter scale orchids, follow the same steps as the 1 1/44 scale. Glue the spike, then the stake, leaves, and roots. Cut a 3-inch piece of thread, loop around the spike and the stake. Tie it, then double knot it, glue to seal, and cut the ends. Then add glue to the top of the curved spike. Add artificial snow or a combination of the star and small flowers that have been curled with a stylus. For the 1/24 or half-scale orchids, use a pin to make a hole in the vase for the spike and the stakes. Then follow the same steps with a 1/48 scale by gluing the spike, the stake, leaves, roots, and then threading the loop around the stake and the spike. For the flowers, you need one flower shape, one small snowflake branch, color with yellow and orange, and a bit of artificial snow. Color each snowflake branch outside yellow and then center orange. Gently remove from the snowflake, curl with stylus. Curl the flowers or stars with a stylus. Glue the flowers to the top of the curved spike stems. Next, glue the bottom half of the flower inside. Add a snowflake branch so that it curls up toward the center. Glue a bit of artificial snow to the top center. The steps for the 1/12 scale are very similar to the 1/24 scale. Use a pin to make holes for the spike and the stake. Glue those into the vase. Cut a 3-inch loop of thread to gently tie around the spike and the stake. Double knot, seal with glue. I like to pull the stake out a bit so there's a gap between the spike and the stake. Cut the excess thread off, bend your leaves, glue, and then glue your roots. The flowers are similar to the 1/24 scale, except that you'll add a curled small flower to the center tipped inward toward the snowflake branch, instead of the artificial snow. To make the light purple orchids, I use light purple marker on both sides of copy paper, and then punch out the shapes. Color the snowflake branches with yellow on the outsides and orange in the center, then add dots of fuchsia pencil to the branch ends. Gently remove the snowflake branches, then with a stylus curl the flowers and curl the snowflake branches. Place a dab of glue on the lower center of the flower. Then glue the snowflake branch so that the end will curl up toward the center. Then, with a stylus, curl a small flower. Glue that in the center so that it points downward toward the snowflake branch. Glue the flowers to the spike stems. Then seal with a matte finish if needed. I hope you enjoyed my version of miniature orchids in the 1/44 scale, 1/48 scale, 1/24 scale, and 1/12 scales. And like and share this video. Thank you so much for watching.